Shelby Roy Hopkins joins us again to tell us some stories from his family's past. If you like and enjoy his stories, you can check out more of his stories in written form on our website, KentuckyHistory.co. Just click the Stories tab, and you'll have loads to read, and they're always enjoyable.
My daddy's family was big.
Yeah.
And he had nieces and nephews older than him.
Uh-huh.
And one of them was the oldest grandchild of my Hopkins family. Her name was Rita. And she was pretty rough. She's a real pretty woman. But anyway, she's married to this guy, and she has 2 kids. And so she's got 2 kids. And anyway, they leave the little girl at home with the grandma, her husband's mom and dad, and they take the little boy and they go to town. And there she is. And it says she's 22 years old, but she's 19. But you can see she's a very pretty woman. There's her husband. There's the baby. Okay. No, 7-month-old baby will remain in Stanford in jail with his parents, charged with murder of Crab Orchard constable. Okay. Wow. This fellow here, this is her husband.
Yeah.
They're in town, Crab Orchard. He's drunk. They're arguing. Okay.
Yeah.
She may have been drinking too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can see she is a very attractive woman. But she's Daddy's niece, even though she's 4 years older than Daddy. Okay. Because Daddy's family was so spread out. So that's from the Cincinnati Times. I think that newspaper. The headline. It made sure. On the top, does it say Cincinnati? Well, one of them says Cincinnati Times. I don't know.
This is Crab Orchard.
That may have been Lancaster. But there may be another picture of somewhere. But regardless. But anyway, it made the headlines all over the country, too. But anyway, the policeman comes along and tells this Larkin Shelby, he tells this man to go home.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can't get my car started. And he can't.
Yeah.
The old car's a junker, and he's just trying to get started, him and her. She's holding the baby. So the policeman says, I told you to go home. And he said, well, I will as soon as I get the car started. So the policeman and his buddy, the deputy guy, they're constables at the time they call them. They walk away. They come back just a little bit. He's down there fooling with the car. Of course, he's drunk.
Yeah.
And he can't get the car started because it's a junk. It's a piece of junk. So the policeman just reaches down, grabs him, pulls him out, and just starts wiring him out with a billy club, or a blackjack, whatever.
Yeah.
Just wiring him out, just beating him. Of course, he's drunk,
Yeah.
And so the wife, holding the baby, grabs the policeman's gun out of the policeman's holder and shoots the policeman through the heart.
Oh, wow.
The other coward policeman run off as fast as he can run. And so her husband gets up then in a few seconds after he's been at it, and he empties 5 more bullets in his heart.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 5 more.
Wow.
Reloads his gun, and they walk the streets of Crab Orchard, him and her did, and went in every building with the gun, saying they were looking for the deputy, and he was hiding in a room upstairs, and they couldn't find him. He's going to kill him. So they go home, and they get locked up. They come get them, they lock them. So they put them all in jail. Of course, she was breastfeeding the baby, and the health department said, well, you better keep the baby with her. So she stayed in the jail for a little bit, not long, the baby. And they sent him on to the penitentiary. But they said she killed the policeman, and they said her shot would have killed him. There's no question.
Yeah.
But her husband's, the Simpson man, he took away any chance he had to live. He was eliminated. So he goes to penitentiary and stayed several years. She divorced him while he's in penitentiary and married another fellow. But that's another story. But that is, I think that's just a fascinating story.
That is wild, yeah.
My family, the Hopkins just killed 16 people.
Wow.
Those are true stories. Yeah. I've heard them my whole life, and I've got them documented. And I'm not proud of it, James. I'm not saying it's a good thing or not. It's just the reality. It is absolutely the reality.
Now, is this the picture of the 2 deputies?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Wow,
which is 1939.
Yeah.
And like I said, my family told the story, and they told it just the way it was. Yeah. And I look them up at the court records, and I look them up at the the newspapers, and it's the truth. I mean, it's absolutely the truth.
Well, what's some stories? Because that you're now a blogger, right?
Yes, yes.
So
people are liking my stories. And James, what I like about it is there's a lady who put a comment the other day, and I had told one of the stories, and she said, Shelby, and I don't know this lady, she said, Shelby, my husband is in UK Markey Cancer Center right now being treated for stage 3 lung cancer.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm having to wait out in the car, and she said, I'm reading this story, and I'm laughing when tears are coming. Well, that makes me feel good. You know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, she's facing a hard time. You know, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Another lady told me, she said, today, like every day, I was probably going to mope about the problems I'm having in my life, like I've done every day for the last 2 weeks. She said, and I don't know who this person is either. She said, but this is make things better.
Yeah.
What's what I want to do? I want to make things better. Yeah. And did you read my basketball one this morning?
I haven't read it yet.
It's a good but I know those stories, and I grew up with those stories. And after Daddy died in 93, I said, I've got to preserve those stories. See, my daddy killed the man. His brother-in-law came. His oldest sister was married to a fellow. He died.
Yeah.
He got shot in Crab Orchard. His brother got killed. His name was Leonard, and John Hopkins was her husband. And they were first cousins and married. But anyway, John gets killed. She leaves behind his wife and 3 kids. John don't get killed. He gets wounded badly. His brother Leonard gets killed, and he's buried at Hopkins Cemetery. Within 10 years later, John died of typhoid fever. And so he's buried when he was just like 27.
Yeah.
He's dead. But anyway, he's buried at Hopkins Cemetery. Well, then she married another fellow named Oscar Brock, mean. Just a mean guy.
Yeah.
Bad to drink. Well, he comes to my grandfather's house and threatens to kill him.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was crippled with arthritis, terrible for 40 years. She sat in the chair. He threatens to kill him, slapped my grandfather out of the chair, and his face hit the fireplace.
Yeah.
Now, he's probably 45 or something like that. He's helpless. He has to walk with a crutch. He's crippled up. He went from being, at 42 years old, in 6 months, he went from being the hardest working guy in the country, everybody said, to crippled up like this.
Yeah. And
just walking with a crutch. 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. You know, Anyway, Oscar, his son-in-law, 33 years old, slaps him out of the chair. Daddy comes running. My grandmother hollers. Daddy's in the back of the house. He comes running with shotgun. Oscar runs out the door, and Daddy shot at him, but of course he's gone.
Yeah.
He goes to get a gun from a fellow named Matt Collett who lived up the road. Matt Collett knows he's drinking, and he says, I'm going to go kill all the Hopkinses. Of course, this is his wife's family. He's going to go kill them. I'm going to kill all the Hopkins. And he probably would.
Yeah.
So he comes back. And in the meantime, Daddy's sister and her husband had stopped by. They just walked up the road. They stopped by. This is 1945. Yeah. They stopped by. Daddy's 18 years old in January. And they stopped by. And so then Oscar comes back. And their door, you don't have a knob like this. It's got a wooden latch. You know?
Yeah.
This is at Dripping Springs. Got a wooden latch. Well, Oscar comes up there and kicks and kicks and kicks. And I'm coming in to kill all of them. Kill all of them. So by the time he kicked the door open, Daddy shot him with a shotgun back out across the floor.
Yeah.
So Matt Collett come down there just a little bit. He had a car, and because he was going to tell him about Oscar when it was already happened. Oscar was dead, and so he took Daddy to jail. Daddy turned himself in, and of course there was no police or call back then. So he spent the night in the jail and went back in March for his trial. And the judge said, well, he should have been killed the first time he was there, you know, for smacking an old crippled man. Yeah. So Daddy didn't get any time for it. But Daddy killed Oscar about that. And see, Roy Hopkins, who I'm named after, he died in 1941. He stepped out of the house and was drunk, or high anyway. Yeah. But he was taking a shotgun back to his grandma because he'd been using it for squirrel hunting. And Roy was a pretty rough guy, but regardless, they just murdered him in his front yard. Just he goes to the front gate and opens the gate, and they just make Jimmy Brock just shoots him. Yeah. So they go around there. Roy's 36. He's dead. He's dead. He killed my grandparents and my dad. All of them just killed him. Yeah. And because just murdered. So Daddy's brother Henry, bad cat. Henry's a very dangerous, very dangerous man. Good guy, but if he gets a drink, son, you better watch. So Jimmy Brock gets 8 years in the penitentiary for killing Roy. Yeah. And so Jimmy is he's 51 at the time that he's killed Roy. He was 36. So Jimmy goes to penitentiary in 1941, and Henry told him at the trial, he said, "Don't come back to Fall Lake. If you do, I'll kill you." Yeah. And so 8 years later, he comes back to Fall Lake just like he shouldn't have done. He comes back. Of course, he ain't afraid of nothing either. He's 59 years old by this time. So he and three other guys, two black guys, Skippy Gibbons from Stanford, bootlegger his whole life. He's dead now. Simon Norris, bootlegger from Lancaster, bootlegger his whole life. He's dead now. Then another guy, they're shooting craps in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Jimmy always carried a double-barrel shotgun.
Yeah.
But he's got it propped against the fence. So while Jimmy's been gone, Henry buys a little .32 caliber pistol.
Yeah.
It's a cheap gun. It just don't cost nothing. It ain't worth nothing. Daddy said to shoot 4 or 5 times it jammed because it get hot. You know, the metal was no good.
Yeah.
And Daddy said, don't use that gun. He said, I'm going to kill Jimmy Brock with that. He said, Daddy said, don't use that gun because it'll jam.
It'll work.
He said, well, I'll beat you to death. Of course, Henry's 33 at this time.
Yeah.
And Henry's a bad man. He's got a big arm. He ain't afraid of Jimmy Brock. He ain't afraid of nothing. So Daddy said Henry's mowing the yard one day, which was one of those push mowers with no sound, you know, the rotary mowers.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's mowing the yard. He comes over to Daddy and says, Jesse, I'll give you a half a pint of whiskey if you'll finish mowing the yard for me.
Yeah.
And of course, they both were still home, you know. And Daddy said, "You going to kill Jimmy Brock?" He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "You just mow the yard." You know, there's a bottle of whiskey. So Daddy takes it. Of course, Daddy knows. So Henry gets on the mule. He rides around there. There's the 4R playing in the middle of the road. Of course, gravel road, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're shooting craps. So everybody there knows what Henry's out for. They know he's been home from Pentecost 2 weeks, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So Henry slides off the horse. And this is the gospel truth. The 2 black guys and the other guy run to the fence row and got out of the way. Jimmy's shotgun's over there and he can't get to it.
Yeah.
He's 10 or 12 feet away from Henry. Yeah. And he said, "Jimmy, you called me an SOB the other day, didn't you?" He said, "I didn't call you that, Henry." He said, "It don't matter." He said, You killed Roy, I've come to kill you." He pulled that 32 out. He stands right there. And they said Jimmy crawled on his knees. Please, Henry, please, Henry. He shot him 5 times in the head with that.
Wow.
And killed him dead in the head.
Wow.
He shot him dead and left him laying there. So.
Wow.
And Skippy Gibbons, talking about Simon Norris, the other black guy, he said he jumped a 5-strand barbed wire fence and run all the way back to Lancaster. There's still black people back then. You can't be around no trouble because they're going to throw the key. They're going to throw the key. But that's what Skippy said. And of course, it scared them all. But and of course, they give Henry got 5 years for carrying a pistol. Because he had stole some chickens a few years earlier, so he was still kind of on probation. He got nothing for killing. Because everybody, he needed to kill. You know, he was a bad guy. He killed Roy. He needed to kill. He got 5 years for carrying a pistol.
Not even the murder.
Nothing. Shot him in cold-blooded murder. So that's 1949, July 22nd, 1949.
Wow.
But I've heard them stories my whole, and they're tragic. And right now, you can stand right here. And there's Roy. 1941, 36 years old, dead. Right over here, 1978, Henry died of cancer. Dead at 62 years old. Over here, you toss the rock this way. And there lays Jimmy Brock. 59 years old, dead. Okay. They're all 3 dead. Okay. They're all 3 dead. And that's the great equalizer of the cemetery is it levels the playing field. You know? Tough, not tough, scared, not scared. It's all, and they're all going to face a turn. And that's sad, but it's just what it is. It's just, and those stories, I have told them, I said, I've got to record them. Man. I've sold about 250 copies of my book, and I've been trying to update it with people that have died and some things I've learned. But I want to put a lot about Dripping Springs in there, and I just haven't really written that. I've got the information.
Just haven't put it in.
And I want to rewrite it, to add that part of it, not rewrite it, but add to it. Probably as much as anybody. I don't brag about Dripping Springs. I really do, because I have studied it intently. And like I told you about the dance slaughter stuff, it's just fascinating, that history.
It is very fascinating.
And that's stories, and there's more than that. I mean, there's just more and more. And my uncle Will Hopkins killed 8 people. I mean, Will's not named there. He and his brother in 1910, they're in jail in Berea. Okay? They're in jail for bootlegging or something. So the constable, they called them constables back then. They really not what they are now. They were more the sheriff in town, or the town policeman. But their daddy brings Will and his brother Henry some cigarettes down to the jail. And he said, "I will give these cigarettes to my boys." And so the policeman gets smart with him, the jailer or whatever, or the policeman. "You're not giving those cigarettes." He said, "Well, they were allowed to have cigarettes, but he didn't like the Hopkins, they didn't like him." But anyway, so this is in Britain. So the police not only talks rough to the man, he slapped him. Well, the boys see it or hear about it. They're in jail, but they hear about it. Well, they get out in a little while. So one evening, about midnight, the policeman and his partner are driving down the road, And Will Hopkins and his brother Henry's laying in the ditch with a double barrel. They shot his head completely off his body. And the other guy went on. They didn't bother him. He, of course, drove with the headless. They said his head flew off and landed in the ditch. Whoa. 1910. And Will Hopkins, bless his heart, he really never did pull any time. Wow. He just was smart. They said in Lancaster one time when he killed somebody, they said, the policeman said, "I've got you now, you little red-headed SOB." That's what the lawyer across the street. Yeah. No, he said, "I've got you now, you SOB," or something. And Will hollered back, "If I let a red-headed SOB like you put me behind bars, that's where I need to be." And did not go to jail. Sharp. He was sharp. He's real smart. Yeah. But he was a thoroughly dangerous man. Yeah. Oh, Lord, he was a dangerous. But the stories are in there. Yeah. When he was about 16 years old down in Harlan County, he was snaking some logs for a fellow. And the guy thought he was whipping his mule. So when he's 16 years old, he probably was whipping him too hard. That guy, furiously mad, this man and woman. So he goes over and grabs him and sticks a pistol in his mouth. Yeah. And said, "Chew on that end of that pistol, boy." And so Will said, he told Dad, he said, "Undoubtedly, I made white marks on that pistol. Yeah. He got in my mouth. And I'm going to get killed. He's going to kill me. And this guy I'm going to shoot your brains out right here, right now." And he said, "I chewed on him that pistol for seemed like forever, but a minute or two." And he said, "Finally, I just broke and run." He said, and he didn't shoot. He said, "Just I just had to take a chance. I can't do this." So he went straight home. Had a hog, took the hog to the little country store, traded it for a pistol. Okay, his Pearl Hound 38. His kids have still got it. His grandkids do now, and that's when he killed 8 people with. But anyway, he ain't killed nobody at this point. But he goes back, and the guy sees him coming, sitting on the porch with his wife. Yeah. And he said, "There comes a little SOB back. I've got to kill him." Yeah. And so the man ran toward the wood pile because that's where the gun is, his shotgun is, and it's just right off the porch. And Will said, "I knew if he gets that wood pile, I'm dead because he's exposed, Yeah. And so he pulls that 38 and shot the man as the man ran toward to get his shotgun. That's the first person to kill. Wow. And they just determined that was justified. He ran a store, a saloon, dance hall in Lucky Stock, which is just outside of Mount Sterling. It's a little place called Jeffersontown, Jeffersonville, right there. Anyway, these 2 guys come in. They said, "We're going to come back and take over this place. You're bad guys." And, so he said, "Don't come back, boys. I'll kill you." And he said, "We'll be back." So they come back, and they get out of the car, and somebody said, "There they are back. They got a woman with them." Okay, so they get this woman, and get behind her, and then one of them throws a rock and breaks the glass window. Big plate glass window. So he pulls at 38. He shot the woman. He shot both men. Killed all 3 of them right down in the parking lot. They did not know who they fooled with. No. And in 1938, Dripping Springs, Daddy's 12. Daddy always said, "Don't get a 38 out on a bad man because he won't stop him." Yeah. That's what Daddy's brother-in-law, Tom Lear, Snowy's, that one told you about. Her husband, Tom Lear, 6'2", 220, 230. Yeah. He's a man, big and stout, but he's drunk, he's mad. Well, Will lives up here on the hill, and he owns his house down here. Tom and Snowy's renting from him. Yeah. Well, Tom's drunk, he's throwing a fit. Snowy's expecting a baby here any day, or a second one. And anyway, Tom breaks out a glass. So somebody went and got Will and said, "Tom's throwing a fit, come down here and see what you can do." So Tom is mad, and he's mad and furious, and he's a bad kid. He's a bad kid. They're all there. There's a bunch of them there because we got to try to stop this, Well, Will walks in, and so Will said, Tom hollers, "I'm the baddest SOB in the country." And Will said, Will's little. He's not much bigger than you, probably, but he carried a bad gun. But anyway, he said, "You better watch what you're saying there, Tom, because I just live up on the hill." And Daddy said, Tom turned and said, "I'll kill you, little SOB." So he runs, and Will pulled that 38, shot him twice, so close to the heart, they were never able to take the bullets out. Wow. But it did not hit his heart. Daddy said he didn't even slow Tom down. He tackled Will, knocked him down, got that third. And there were 2 bullets. Daddy said blood shoot 4 foot out of it, just like this. And he said Tom tackled him, took that 38 pistol, the butt of it, and smacked him 3 or 4 times with it. And then they all jumped on him, the women and kids. Yeah. Of course, Daddy's 12, and he lost the blood just in a second. They wrestled him off, he was getting so weak. Yeah. But Daddy said they didn't even slow him down. 38. They could not take. Of course, there's 1938. They could not take the bullets out. And probably later on in 1978, 40 years later, killed him because a Grissom grew up around him. Yeah. And put pressure on his heart. Well, he was 75 or 8 years old by that time. But Daddy said, don't pull a 38 on a bad man because he won't stop me. Because Daddy saw it.
Wow. So.
Now, those are real stories. Those really, really happened. Yeah. And Tom went to hospital, stayed 8 days. Uh-huh. But he really wasn't hurt that bad, Yeah. I mean, he would have died if they had stopped. Of course, they stuck a rag in there and got him in the hospital, and he lived, But he wasn't hurt that bad, and he forgave Tom. He forgave Will. He said, "I don't blame Will for shooting me. I have no hard feelings for him, none whatsoever." And he did, and they got along reasonably well. They were brother-in-laws. Yeah. And of course, then Will, he wound up after killing 8 people. Him and his daughter, Christmas, a day or 2 after Christmas, 1940. This is 41, I think, 41 or 42. They go into Crab Orchard into the hardware store. Well, Will did not like his other brother-in-law, Jack Saylor, who was married to another one of Daddy's sisters. Yeah. They had some words. And Will had told Jack, he said, I will go with Blanche before I die. Uh-huh. He's married to Blanche's sister, but he meant I'll have sex with her down the road. Well, Jack couldn't stand the thoughts of that, And Will just, he's a bad cat, but he's smart as And so Jack wasn't no good either. They both were rough. But Jack had several half brothers and sisters. And so Will and his daughter walk in, and Will is 63. It's snowy outside, terrible snow, late December. And you can't see nothing because you walk in, it's pitch dark in most stores. Can't see nothing. And he looks back there and he thinks that it's Ike Saylor, Will's Jack's half brother. They did a favor because they can't see him. Yeah. And he said, "How you doing, Ike?" He said, "Have you cut them logs yet?" Thinking it's Ike. Yeah. Well, he ain't got no problem with Ike, Yeah. But it's Jack, and Jack says, "You know who it is. You saw her at SOB." Mm-hmm. And he pulls he has a .22 rifle under his coat. He had a long coat. He pulled it, and he shot Will 5 times right there in the store. Wow. While his daughter's holding on. Will reaches for that 38, but he fell dead. Yeah. And his daughter lowered him to the ground, Wow. And, but Jack killed him. So Will killed 8 people in his life. Wow. And Jack killed him. But they were so bad. One more story, then I'll leave you alone. But I've got more. But Daddy in 1959 gets arrested for making moonshine in Brocktown. Yeah. Okay. He made moonshine. His mom, I was born in 56. They went to Cincinnati when he got married. They lived 5 years. Yeah. And so Daddy died to get back home to Fall Lake. Can't stand it. Well, my mom's brother, Glenn, has got this house in Brocktown. And it's just up the road from where our store was, back towards the school. So anyway, Glenn will rent the house. So Daddy said, "You come back. Let's go back to Crab Orchard. And you work at Cowden's." Bad idea. And I'll make whiskey. Terrible. Just a bad idea. Worst idea that's ever been laid out there. And Mom, she didn't want to because they were doing good, and pretty good. I'm little. This is it's in the middle of 57 or something like that. They decided to come back. I was born in 56, September, so I'm about 6 or 8 months when they moved back. So I don't remember any of this, but Dave and then me. So we're there, and so Daddy starts making whiskey. Yeah. Well, there was a bootlegger in Lancaster, Overstreet, I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, he bootlegged. He's a black man. And bootlegged all the time. He had a store. He's a good fellow, really, but he bootlegged out of the store. And so the deal was, Richard Overstreet, Daddy said, Richard was going to buy all of Daddy's whiskey. Daddy would drink some himself, but he was going to sell it all. There weren't people coming and going. Yeah. So Richard would come once a week, get a load of whiskey, take it back, and bootleg it. Okay. So it was pretty clean, as far as that goes. Mom's working at Cowden's. Mom and Dad Baker lived down the road a tenth of a mile, but everything's cool, and like I said, Daddy would sell it all to Richard. Richard's a reliable kind of guy. Well, Mom and Dad hear that this fellow named Pat Turner in Lancaster has got caught with steel. And Mom said, "Jess, get rid of your steel, or they'll come and shoot because he'll tell them." And Dad said, "Nah, he won't tell them." And Mom said, "Get rid of the steel, Jess, or he'll tell her." Because he knew Daddy. They were all in the codes. Anyway, Daddy don't. Well, she comes home from work that evening, and the police are there, and they've arrested Daddy. Yeah. He's sitting on the couch. Mom said, "He's holding me. He's handcuffed, on the couch holding me. Of course, I'm just a little baby, And this is 59. I'm 2.5, so I started crying or something like that. Anyway, I don't remember that, but anyway. Mom said, what's he doing handcuffing? And the guy said, well, he tried to run off. And at first he did. When they saw him coming, Daddy ran out the back door, but then he ran 50 feet, then he stopped, They got him.
Yeah.
So they got the seal. And so Daddy gets a year in penitentiary, which was common at the time. Terre Haute, Indiana. And this is the part I want you to know. So Mom is pregnant with Tony. Daddy goes to penitentiary in early January. And he wound up getting out. Tony's born the 12th of June. He came home about the middle of June. 15th or 16th. Just a few days after Tony was born. And never made any more whiskey in his life. He's done. But anyway, so he's in penitentiary. And he don't want to be in the penitentiary. He's married, got 3 little kids, and 1 on the way. And this is just a disaster. This is a disaster. He's in Terre Haute, Indiana, in the penitentiary. Of course, he's guilty. He's guilty of sin. He knows that. But he's so sorry. And he just feels terrible. Well, he's there, and the second day he's there, he meets this fella from Crab Orchard. His name was Elijah Brock, but they called him Lige. Well, Lige was a rough guy. I can't emphasize that enough. His whole life was rough. Well, Lige had gone to Chicago as a youngster with his family. They all from Crab Orchard. But he had participated in Golden Gloves boxing stuff. He would have been a middleweight. He'd have been 130 or 40 pounds. But he's a bad guy. He could box. I mean, he never did go to Lincoln because he drank and stuff too much. But he's a bad guy. He knew how to fight. Well, Daddy said he's Lige. We're glad to see somebody he knows. Of course, Lige spent about half his life in the penitentiary, so Lige was getting used to it. Anyway, Daddy and Lige about the same age. So they're there, and Daddy said, my second day there. Of course, I've met Lige, glad to see him. We're standing in the big area there, common hall, like, people's talking like him. Well, this young boy comes up, stands up on a chair or something, jerks his shirt over, 22 years old, and I'm tough looking guy. And I'm the baddest cat in the country. Anybody messes with me, I'll kill you. I'll beat you to death. Anybody want to, just come on right now. Anybody wants to step up, let's hear it. So, Lige and Daddy's in the back. We're thinking about things got on. Nobody cares about what, they want to do their time. And Lige took offense to it. Because Lige is a bad cat. He's crazy. And Lige said, you're so tough, why don't you start with some of those guys back here in the back? Daddy said, he's thinking, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? We don't want no fights. I want to get out, do my time, and get out and go home. Hopefully I can go home in 6 months. Daddy said the waves parted just like the Red Sea. That boy comes to Lige, and Lige goes to him. But Lige is up there. Daddy said they started fighting. That guy never touched Lige. Lige hit him 8 or 10 times. Daddy said, sound like a gun going off. Just boom, boom, boom. Beat him to death. The boy crumpled. Daddy said after it was over, Lige had broke that knuckle right there. Daddy said you take that knuckle and just spin it all the way around.
Wow.
But he beat him to death just in about 30 seconds. Here come the guards. Come running. So the boy, they roused him up after a little bit. And said, what happened? He said, I fell down. Because he didn't want any more trouble. He said, I fell down. Of course, they knew that a lot. But, of course, Lige didn't get in trouble. Daddy didn't get in trouble. But the second day Daddy was there, he thought, oh, Lige, we're going to never get out of jail. We'll never get out of jail again. But Lige did not care. My brother David was at Crab Orchard. Years later, they sold the pool room, and Lige was running it. So David's sitting here on the stool, another boy beside him, and over here 2 or 3 stools over is this other guy. And Dave knew that guy about how smart he was. Lige is cooking. Now, Lige did not last in the restaurant business, but about 6 months ago, he's nasty and just rough. So this boy smarts off. And Lige is back here cooking. And Dave said that Lige turns around and said, what did you say? And that boy said something about the food or something. And Daddy said, Lige went like that. And he said, he knocked him out. He knocked him off that stool. He laid back on the floor, knocked out. And everybody else just went back to eat. And Lige went back to the grill and food. After a little bit, the boy got up and went back to their table. But see, you got food. You fooled the wrong can. And Lige was he's thoroughly dangerous. But there's a lot of them cats that were thoroughly dangerous. Man, Daddy was. If some... Well, let me tell you one more story. We're at Brocktown. We moved in 72. We're opening a store. We got everything looking good, gas, and so everything. People's coming. Well, there's a store a quarter mile down the road, Tom Kidd and his wife. And she's a sweet little lady, but he's rough. He's a drinker. They don't have no business, and they get these hoodlums hanging on. Well, there's a Broughton boy, Ricky Broughton from Garrett County, some of the Broughtons that had migrated to Garrett County. Ricky's dating a girl up there. So he's over at Kids. He's rough as a cob, Ricky is. Anyway, he's over at Tom Kidd's. Well, they put him up, go for there, and throw gravel, throw it on Chester's front. We had the store painted. We had shutters on the windows, But he comes over there, and he's got a pretty hot car, and he just goes between the gas pumps in the store, and he just throws. I mean, it's just like a wave, a tsunami. It just covered that store, scarring the paint. Of course, you bring the wind, but it just rocks that deep on the porch. Just a terrible one. Well, the store's right here, house is right here. Security lights on this side of the store. So this side of the store is very dark. So Daddy gets a 30-30. And he just goes up there, and he stands right here towards the front of the store, and he's completely hit. He's darkish. This is all lit up, So about an hour, we get up and we watch and sing because we heard it, at midnight or something. Of course, they put him up to it. He's drunk. And so my boy comes back, and he gets in the middle of another spin. And Daddy unleashes that 30-30. Boom, boom, fire coming out of there, buddy. And 30-30 night sun is loud. So he's right there. That boy laid over the seat and drove down the road and got on down the road to Tom Kids, and got real quiet. Went back to the house, went to bed, everything's cool. Next day, we go up there and sweep the rocks off and open the shutters and stuff like that. Fix the rocks back, and we made a gong. So later on that day, he comes to the store, that boy does. But he pulls in there, and it went out this way. And, of course, the bullets had went in his back fender on the driver's side. Right across the back fender, through the trunk, out the other side. The 2 bullets. Wow. They're about a foot apart. And so when he pulled in, there's hollow point bullets. When he come in the next day, he turned, that's the passenger side there, and there's 2 big plates laid open. 2 big, they're that big. Laid that sheet metal open, that bullet probably laid open. And he come in the store, and he said, of course, he's real contrite. He said, Jess, why did you shoot through my car yesterday? Daddy said, son, next time you throw rocks on that porch, he said, they'll be through the door. And Daddy admitted, he said, I won't throw more rocks. And we lived there and said, ain't nobody throw no rocks. They turned a lot. They didn't throw no rocks. There's no more rocks. Because Daddy wouldn't play. He'd have shot them through the door now. And so, I mean, you talk about now on this side, there's 2 little holes. Other side, pipe lights, 2 holes. I'd hate to get in that trunk. I could tell you 1,000 stories about Broughton, and I'm going to write. I'm continuing as I write on every day. I'm going to probably just put one a day, or something. Right. I've got 200 probably more.
We'll put them on the website.
I like having them there,
and then it'll stay there. People read them. Man. Really
I want to preserve them. And I will put them in a book whenever I get them done. Lord willing, and I'll just make a book like that. It'll just be a list of stories of my life as we're talking about.
We'll sit down and we'll record some more because they're quite entertaining.
They really are. I've heard them, and I like I said, I've looked them up, and sometimes people they're lying, bravo, and I'm not proud of that they shot people. So don't get me wrong, that's a terrible thing. We're Christians, and we're proud of. And the Hopkins were good people, and they made whiskey. Of course, a lot of people do, but if you crossed them, so